2016. Also on the bulletin board at Town Hall and has remained continuously posted with required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. We have roll call. Mr. Barton.
Present.
Ms. Brown. Mr. Franzen.
Here.
Mr. Yates.
Here.
Mayor Lee.
Here.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for the victims in Orlando. Having lived there and worked there for 2 years, it certainly came as a shock to all of us, but I certainly had a connection with that city and what they're going through. I'm just going to ask for a moment of silence for a moment, please. Thank you. Need a motion to approve the bills?
So moved. Second.
Public comment. Public comment. Public comment.
Public comment. Yeah.
Mayor Lee.
Gentlemen, can you take your motions back, please?
Finish it and then move back.
Because the public may have comments on the bill. At this point, we'll open up the meeting to public comment on agenda items only. If you're interested in being heard this evening, please raise your hand. I will call on you. Come to the center of the room. Stand underneath the microphone. You can be heard at this time. Again, you'll have 3 minutes, and this period is for agenda items only. Mrs. Brooks.
Thank you. Some questions on the bill list. Page 1, it's Fidelity 5050 for a burglar alarm. What building is that going into?
Looks like we're getting the answer here.
We don't have any time here.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, thank you.
Pete's in charge of the clock.
Pete.
Never started.
Good going, man.
We'll deduct 30 seconds.
It's for the emergency services bill.
Is that a new one, or?
Yes.
Oh, was there one in there before? Was there one in there before?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it's a.
It has to do with, it's more of the key fob than it is the alarm.
Would you explain that a little bit, just to get up on there?
Key fob is an access ability for members to have a
Right,
key fob to get into the building. It's that system, not necessarily an alarm system. The company is an alarm company.
oh, okay, thank you. Regarding the whole series of awards that were given for Memorial Day, which is some of them repeat, do you have guidelines for determining how these awards are given out, and is that done by the rec committee? Are those guidelines set up by the rec committee, or is that something that the committee set up?
I think the rec committee actually does that. I've never done it personally, but I believe the rec committee does that. They have an interest in health, so like the bike contest and all that.
Okay, and do you know offhand if they have guidelines for providing the award?
Standards for how to decorate your bike?
Yeah.
I've never entered, so I really wouldn't know.
Okay.
But that's who handles it.
Okay. The other question I have is on page 4, tab 14, petty cash supplies, third grader field trip. What was this field trip for, and was this a school-related field trip, or?
Third grade, if you remember from previous meetings, the third graders come to Town Hall during part of a class trip. They're here, they're across the street, Pepper House, and Committeeman Franzen and I hosted them and gave a talk about the local township government, how it works, the history of the building, et cetera, et cetera. And we give them cookies with a snack or something.
Okay, a snack. Okay.
Water, I think, was that overhead.
Okay.
Yeah, no cupcakes or cookies, I forgot. Yeah, water.
Ah,
We had cranberry juice one year. We did have we had white cranberry juice a couple years ago.
Okay. Verizon 33, I was just curious, this is for the construction office regarding the tablet. Is that for the hardware or is that for just the connection, the Verizon connection, data connection, the 7468? Is that a monthly or a?
Data connection.
It's a data connection. So the program actually requires a separate service contract, data contract. Okay. The other question I have is on the salary ordinance. How soon after a full-time employee is hired does that individual qualify for a salary increase? Is that 3 months? Is that 6 months? Is that 1 year? Doug, I presume that you would be answering that? You would know that on the personnel manual? I don't know.
I don't believe it's defined in the personnel manual.
So it's not defined, so someone could get a salary increase if they came into a week before this ordinance went into effect?
It would be
Was
part,
hired?
it would be part of the negotiated salary.
I see. Okay. That's something that should be looked at in the personnel manual about when a new hire is given a salary increase. Okay, but even though, just 30 seconds more, are you going to be, okay, are you going to be releasing the draft contract tonight?
We might. We're going to see how executive session goes. That's when it's going to depend on.
Okay, that's my last question. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public at this time? Yes, sir.
John Cooper, 21 Woodside Drive. Item number 9, executive session. Potential litigation involving Vera Long Street. Not to any closed session or potential for a lawsuit. We must have a lawsuit to do it. Sunshine law is specific. Potential lawsuits not to be discussed in closed session. Only an act of lawsuit.
Anticipated litigation is the subject, can be the subject of the executive session.
That's not what the law says.
That's what it says, I think. I'll double check.
I know we've been down this road before with lawsuit, and it's very specifically that you must have a lawsuit, not the potential. Because I can stand here and say, I'm going to sue this for week, and you can go in and say, I'm going to have a session. I don't do that every week, so we're going to do a closed session and discuss it.
That would also mean that the committee would have to make a decision to file a lawsuit without ever going into executive session with their attorney.
Not necessarily, please,
I would be able to talk to them about the potential for a lawsuit, but as a group for them to speak to me about that. I think that it would be, I think anticipated litigation is certainly something that's permitted. The statute says anticipated litigation, and I think the reasons are pretty practical. I mean, they need to talk to me, I need to talk to them before they make that decision.
Any other comments from the public at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public. Now we'll take a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call?
Mr. Park?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-78 authorizing the placement of temporary signs in the public right-of-way for Tabernacle Historical Society. This is for the Strawberry Social that occurred on Saturday. Need a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
The only comment I'm going to make on this, gentlemen, is that I think we need to think about the temporary sign situation. We have one that's coming up next for the rescue squad for the chicken barbecue. We've had a couple that timing hasn't been right. We need to talk about something that's easy for the residents, and it doesn't require it coming across our table. I think we could potentially run it through the zoning office, potentially, but it's something we ought to talk about.
I agree, Mayor. It's an annual event. They do it year after year after year. And we can just change the ordinance to permit it for the fire company and the school, for the historical society.
Or at least a streamlined way, similar to the street opening permit concept. It's not constantly going before us. Just it's got to be easier for the residents. Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-79 authorizing the placement of temporary signs in the public right-of-way, the Tabernacle Rescue Squad Annual Chicken Barbecue. Need a first and second, please.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-80 fixing and determining salaries and wages of certain employees and officials for the year 2016. Need a motion, please?
I'll make it.
Need a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
This, I assume this is a result of what we did with the budget?
Yes, it is.
Doug, Terry, anything else?
You ready?
Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution, sorry, LaShawn.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-81, authorizing Tabernacle Township to enter into a shared service agreement with Evesham Township. Need a first and a second, we'll discuss.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Doug?
They've been providing us the service off and on on an as-needed basis for newer employees. And this is an agreement to establish the price, and we have all of ours coming up in the end of 16. So enough to get that back in to help us with our survey at the end of the year of doing our shared service.
Gentlemen, any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-82, the audit review. Certification of the annual audit. Need a first and a second, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Doug, anything?
You will be getting a report from Terry within 90 days. Corrective action plan. And that should be completed. That's that plan.
Okay, sounds good. Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Can you take the pictures over again?
No. I'll take one. Well,
Small thing. Just 3 different names.
I know, but one of them, are we tabling 84?
We're not tabling any of them. All these are good. The only one that's not listed on there was one more part.
Oh, you pulled it off. I thought they were under leisure time now. Okay.
It's Terry.
That's Tabernacle. Okay, understood. Resolution 2016-83. I'll do these together unless the committee objects. 2016-83, 84, and 85. Renewal of the retail consumption licenses for Murphy's Inn at the Pines LLC, Leisure Time Inns Incorporated, and PPDA Incorporated.
Correction. Murphy's is distribution.
In that case, we're not going to. Let's see. We'll go back to Resolution 2016-83. Need a motion for renewal of plenary retail distribution license for Murphy's in the Pines LLC. Second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. These two will combine. Resolution 2016-84 and 2016-85. Consumption licenses for Leisure Time Inns and PPDA Incorporated. Need a motion and a second, please.
Make the motion.
Second.
Second. Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lou?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of the emergency services report. Mrs. Brown called me earlier this afternoon and indicated she had an appointment this evening, will be late to the meeting. I'm going to move down the agenda and do committee reports, hopeful that she'll be here. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable having this discussion without Mrs. Brown here to begin with. So we'll start with the reports from Colonel Lowe, please.
Evening. I am William Lowe, the Emergency Management Coordinator. And what I'm giving you is Annex J of the Emergency Operations Plan, which is public health. Over the last three months, OEM of Chemong and Tabernacle, as well as the Pineland CERT, have been doing a series of tabletop exercises on how to do, first of all, what a pandemic is, how to respond to a pandemic, various aspects of it, and then how to provide medication to residents in the event of a pandemic and the desire to give out medication. The plan is what you've got there. First of all, it starts off with how we get the medication, how we order it. And then it also goes into the fact that the emergency services units, as well as the public works and the administration, provide information to OEM so we can keep track of how many people we would give, and the responders that we would give medication to and their families, and then how we'd get the bulk of the medication that would be given out to the residents. Tabernacle and Chemong are going to go together and establish one pod, a point of distribution. Now, the plan calls for that point of distribution to be at Holy Eucharist Church in the parking lot. It'll be a drive-through pod, and we're going to have it make available for both the Chemong residents and the Tabernacle residents, and we're going to exercise that and test it on the 25th of June in the morning, 10 o'clock. What will happen is both Tabernacle and Chemong will go out with their reverse 911 notice to the community and tell them what we're going to do, invite them to participate in the point of distribution, which will go from 10 to 11. In the meantime, prior to that, I will have developed an incident action plan that will cover all the different aspects of it. I will share that with Chemong OEM. It's a part of what's been happening with the tabletop exercises that we've been doing over the last 3 months, is writing the plan and then the IAP. We will invite the rescue squad and the fire company to participate. We will spend a couple of hours just putting it together and practicing it. We'll open it for about an hour and then we'll close it just to see if we get any residents come through. We're going to bring in variable light signs from the county to warn people that there's going to be an exercise going on, and then to direct people that want to participate in the exercise where to go and how to go. We'll also get some other equipment from the county. The county MRC is going to supervise the medication portion of the distribution, which will be a normal partnership between the various citizens court elements. The County Department of Health has adopted it as an exercise for the County Department of Health so they can take credit for it from the state. So that means that they're not going to do anything except watch it and then take credit for it. Typical, interesting, that's an editorial comment. But on the other side, we're going to run this thing out. We'll see how it goes. The idea is to test it out, see if it works. After it's over, we will do an after-action review. We'll see how it works. We'll see if we've got to revise the plan, how we've got to revise the plan. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a picnic and a barbecue. We've invited the squad, and that's us. It's in recognition of the Joint Insurance Fund, recognizing the efforts and the safety of both the squad and the Pineland CERT in action that they took during the 23rd of June storm. So really what it is a party to celebrate the fact that the last 4 months, the CERT has been busting its tail to do this. This is a really unusual action for something like a CERT. We've taken them so far out of their comfort zone that they actually think that they're important to the emergency response system. Have any questions? You're welcome to come by and see what we're going to do. Lord knows what it's really going to look like. I have no idea if residents will actually show up. Like I said, we're going to do a reverse 911 call and warn them that there's going to be an exercise going on, because you know what happens, everybody gets on Facebook and start turn it into something real when it's not. And then we'll invite residents, and if they come by, they'll be fine. The more residents we get, that'll test out our plan even more. Questions? Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Guzzi.
Thank you. We're just wrapping up design on the road program for this year, and I expect to have plans, specs to Doug for review next week, and then hopefully we'll get authorization to go out to bid at your next meeting for that. And just an update, we've instituted the new street opening permit procedure, so we won't be doing full inspections of every opening. We'll be doing spot checks and just if there's any resident complaints or concerns or township concerns, then we'll check those out. So it should be a little less cumbersome all the way around. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, John. Doug?
I just want to thank the CERT. They invited me to their county banquet and award ceremonies, and Highlands Regional CERT made a fine, outstanding showing there. An awful lot of certificates were handed to them, and I appreciate the invite. I got to learn a little bit more about the county-wide CERT organization, and just want to thank Colonel Lowe and especially John Lyons for all the work they do on behalf of the residents of Tabernacle. Also, last month I talked to you about the nomination for the Highlands Festival for the Service Award, and just a reminder that I need to have this here shortly. Committees come up with a suggestion or two.
Very friendly reminder.
I need to have that rather shortly.
Okay.
That's all I have for today.
Pete?
I just have the executive session involving the Long Street property, so thank you.
Mr. Barton?
Thank you, Mayor. Our administrator, Mr. Kramer, informed me, as you remember, we had met with South Jersey Gas in order to change this road opening process, and Doug had a list of streets that go back quite a few years. One was Route 206 and Tabernacle Road intersection, and Mr. Kramer tells me that South Jersey Gas completed that punch list for us. All those streets are done, and 206 is a little more pleasurable when you go down Tabernacle Road, plus 206 and hit that big bump anymore. So thanks for letting me know about that, Doug, and we'll communicate that to South Jersey Gas. Thank you. That's all I have there.
Mr. Franzen?
We did the third grade thing, as you mentioned earlier. It's always a pleasure to see the little kids come through. One of the feedbacks that a couple of the kids gave in their classroom a few days later was when they were asked what they remembered most of this event, they said meeting the mayor. So that was the honorable thing that they remembered about that day, meeting our mayor. We also had the Strawberry Festival over the weekend that also was well attended, and Boy Scouts came towards the end of it, and most of what was left over they purchased from the Historical Society and took it back to an event they were having. So big thanks to the Boy Scouts for helping out with the Historical Society on that. That's all I got.
You're going with me to Cranston?
Yeah, we'll go to Cranston, July 9th, I think.
It is. Yeah, I don't, somebody called me about it, American Legion. Mr. Gladfelter may be going also.
Good.
I'm glad you can be there. Mr. Yates?
Well, I really don't have anything to report. Would like to thank the residents of the community for their support this past Tuesday. It was, I think, a record turnout for a primary election in this town. So thank you again for your confidence in it.
I have a couple things. I'm going to the Creds Memorial dedication, or not dedication, but recognition ceremony on the 9th with Rick. I attended a community calendar meeting on, what night was that? Wednesday night? Last week. Keith was also there. Judy Seiler had initiated it, and she sent an invitation out to different community groups. There were probably about 5 or 6, 7 groups that were represented there, 8 groups or so. But the concept is to have a calendar and have these groups coordinated in terms of communication about their events, their mission, their purpose, volunteers, fundraisers, and whatnot. And actually, a couple of the folks at the table didn't know each other, number one. Number two, didn't even know the other group existed. And it was a really good discussion, and I think what's really positive that comes from that, and I'm anxious to hear how this is going, but one of the things that I hope we're able to do is on our community calendar page on our website, is to have these events on there so folks can go and click and know exactly what's happening. Judy and Natalie are having some conversations about that. Natalie Lewis, our deputy clerk. So that's one step in that direction, but the concept is pretty good. I think it's an opportunity for folks to be able to have an idea what each group is doing. And they're going to plan to meet quarterly, perhaps semi-annually, just to sit down and talk with each other, to talk about the challenges they deal with, but also to come up with ideas about how to work together. So it's a really, really positive discussion. I also attended the Eagle Scout ceremony for Jacob Boris, whose father painted the doors downstairs here at the building. It was a great day. Mr. and Mrs. Kramer were there, actually, as a matter of fact. And it was a really good ceremony. There were probably maybe 150 folks who were there total. And it was a really nice event. They're a good family. They've done a lot for our community. With that, I'm going to open up the meeting for public comment. If you're interested in being heard this evening, please raise your hand. I will call on you and come to the center of the room. Stand underneath the microphone, and you can be heard at this time. Mrs. Brooks.
Thank you. Fran Brooks, Morton Middle Road. I have actually one question. This is for Mr. Kramer. On Tuesday, June 7th, you attended a tax appeal on a property on Morton Middle Road. And at that tax appeal, you testified to the county board that Mary Ann Thompson visited you in your office. I think you said at least 2 times. Do you remember when she came to visit you?
Exact date.
You don't have the exact dates? Okay. That's all I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. Stuart Brooks, Moore's Meadow Road. I was also at that Burlington County Tax Board meeting, and like all public meetings, they're interesting because you get to see how the work of government is done. After sitting in the public section for this board, this committee, as it went through an extended budget procedure, which was as thorough as it's ever been before, it was still striking to hear at the tax board comments from citizens of Tabernacle who were not only challenging their assessment, but also commenting that taxes were just really high. And this is a comment, not a question. It was striking to me because I didn't doubt the sincerity of these people at all. And we've all watched the tax rate change. On the other hand, this committee has bent over backwards to try to include the public in, and yet there was not. There was a real separation between the two events, meaning the comments of citizens at the tax board saying their taxes were too high, and yet it was not present at any of the many, many meetings that have occurred here where they could provide input or comment if they so chose. So I pass that on for whatever value it has. I mean, I know anyone who was walking door to door during the election probably heard lots of comments about lots of things. I'm guessing taxes is one of them, but I make that comment to you and pass it on for whatever value it might have.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. O'Leary.
Evening. Mark Lemire, 32 Washington Way. I just want to thank everybody on the Township Committee, everybody in the Public Works, the CERT, all the emergency services for participating in our Memorial Day Parade event. I think it went very, very well. We had some great weather. So again, I want to thank everybody, practically everybody in the room here. I think had some hand in it to some degree. So I just want to thank everybody for all their efforts. Hopefully we'll have a bigger one and better one next year. And if anybody has suggestions on how we can improve upon it, please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Did a nice job, Mark. Quite well.
Thanks, Rick.
Any other comments from the public this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public. I'm going to open up to the committee. We've got a lot of folks here to talk about the public safety report, emergency service report. I'm a little leery, not leery, but out of respect for Kim, I think it's important for her to be part of this discussion. This is an opportunity for the public to talk to the members of the leadership of the emergency squad and the fire company. Any thoughts?
No, it's a tough call, like Joe has said, everybody is here, but I think we said a month or so ago that we'd like all of us to be here for this, and I don't mean to say what you were going to say, I think, but, it's kind of, we got everybody here, it's like, you got the wedding and the bride and the groom, aren't both here, what I mean, and maybe we can't go on with it. I don't have to feel this. I hear what others feel.
Mayor, I would say limit our involvement and just let the public ask questions and use those, it'll be available on the tapes for Kim to listen to. And not us get involved. We could ask our questions at a later date, but at least we do have a room full of folks from the squad, the fire company. Let the public have their questions and let them be recorded. And no dialogue from the committee we could do, get the committee involved at a later date.
She called me this morning and indicated she'd be late, and she wasn't. She was pretty certain she would make it, but just wasn't sure about the timing. And I think I'd rather not have the discussion without her, but by the same token, we have a lot of folks that have taken the time to come. And for the sake of one person who's going to actually be able to move on with the discussion, I'd like to know. It definitely marinates things. So.
Well, I'd really like to have Mrs. Brown here, because this is a sensitive issue. So I really want to have her input. Yes, she could listen to the tape, but I'd rather have her here so we can listen to her in person.
What's the score?
Ellie's game?
Yeah. First of all, we invited President Wood and Chief Jackson and Chief Smith and Lenny. Are they all here?
3 out of 4 are.
George, I see you here. Dave, you here?
Yeah.
Is Lenny here? Lenny's in the back. Is Jamie here?
I'm representing Jamie.
Okay. Can Jamie make it at another time?
Oh, another time,
I don't know.
She got a family issue she's dealing with right now.
Okay. Any thoughts? Let's tell you what. Let's open up to George. Come on up. Dave, come on up. Terry, come on up. Yeah, Lenny too.
Yeah, Len.
Have a seat. For the record, we have, you can go down the line and introduce yourselves, please. Lenny?
Okay. Larry Vinci, Berkshire, President, Tabernacle Fire.
Steve Smith, Tabernacle Fire Chief.
George Jackson, third Chief, Tabernacle Rescue Squad.
Terry Zane, Vice President of the Rescue Squad.
far away. It'll limit the amount of time that she has to listen to
About 30
it.
minutes.
Yeah, it'll limit the amount of time she has to listen to it. So let's go. Okay, thanks for coming. What I want to do is I want to invite the public to essentially ask questions for you. And the committee will have an opportunity to be able to do that at a later time, but this is more so for the public dialogue with the leadership of both the emergency response organizations. So at this time, we are going to open up the meeting for public comment and questions for our leadership of our squad and fire company. It'll be limited specifically to those individuals, these 4 individuals here, and you will be limited to 3 minutes, like we normally are. And if we get to a point where we're getting a lot of redundancy and points brought up, this is mainly an opportunity for questions to be asked of the leadership of our emergency squad and fire company that we don't have the answers to. So I want to go about this very respectfully of these 4 individuals. That's very, very important. And at this point, we'll open up the meeting to the public for this particular topic. Stuart?
Thank you. Stuart Brooks, Moore's Meadow Road. I have questions for both chiefs. I'll start at the top and go. Prior to this, Chief Smith, this is a question to you. Before the fire district was dissolved, I know the chief kept records of performance of the company, like the number of incidents, number of firefighters who responded, how long it took, and other routine information. And that information was reported monthly at a public meeting of the fire commissioners in the chief's report. And you gave this report, and your predecessor, Chief Welling, also gave this information in the chief's report. What I'm asking is, are you still collecting that information?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And do you report that information to anyone at the township?
A couple of times to Doug, part of the information, not everything. Response times hasn't been reported, and average turnout has. Like how many calls we have is on our website. I've mentioned it, how many we have, month to month.
Is there a reason why response time and the number of people who turn out is reported? I mean, as a citizen, I would think that's essential kind of information.
I think before, when we gave the information out as a district, it really doesn't tell the whole truth, because you're just getting a number of turnout. You don't know if you average, you get called for the plinth per se. Only 6 people can fit on the plinth. So the main goal is to get that piece of apparatus out that they're asking for. So my answer to everybody that asks how we're doing is we get out what is asked. So yes, we're manning everything that needs to get out. So that tells you more than just giving you a number of 14 or 19 or 20. It's the apparatus that's being asked for is being manned and getting out on the street. And we put how many, you've been on our website?
No, I haven't.
On our website, month by month, it says how many calls for the month, how many each vehicle, how many times it was used that month, fire calls, rescues, wires, the main calls that we run, that's also on there.
You keep time of the response, keep track of the response time?
No, I have to personally enter all that information on the website. So I did have to get it off the network program, the state program, and then I just re-enter it on for a website.
Okay. How many times did the fire company rent out the fire hall in 2015 and actually through May of this year? How much money did the fire company make? What does the fire company do with that revenue? Does the township know how much money is received on that?
I don't even know the answer to that.
Does anyone? I presume, is there someone in the fire company who keeps track of that?
That would go on to the trustees.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear couldn't hear the response from back here.
Trustees.
Trustees, keep that in, okay.
but not the township?
Correct.
How much of last year's $90,000 township allocation was spent? Is there a log or a register of what those expenditures were? And could you explain that? I'll ask them all as a group, because it's all part of the same thing. Does the fire company have a regular procedure for approving an expenditure, tracking what you bought, and its receipt, the payment of the check?
Sure.
And is the township part of that procedure?
No.
So how much of the $90,000 was spent?
About 120.
120,000 of the 90? Would you mind explaining that?
We had some extra expenses from previous company that we used the money that was transferred over. So during the reservoir of budget.
Thank you. Chief Jackson, I'm trying to understand how the TRS is classified by the state. Is it considered a provider of basic life support ambulance services?
We are licensed by the State Department of Health Office of Emergency Management, or Office of Emergency Medical Services as a BLS provider.
Okay. So does that mean that you're subject to NJAC Title 8, Subchapter 40, Mobility Assisted Vehicle and Basic Life Support Ambulance Services?
Yes.
All right. When I read their definition of volunteer ambulance, I'm not sure how to interpret it. Because their definition, as I read it, says it's an ambulance, first aid or rescue truck that provides emergency medical services without receiving payment for those services. But my concern is that the billing program that was started in 2013 is a receipt of payment for those services. So could you explain if the billing program affects how TRS, whether TRS is considered a volunteer ambulance service by NJDOH?
Without having the statute and reading all the other definitions, I wouldn't comment on that.
Do you consider TRS a volunteer organization?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Sorry, Mr. Brooks, I made one. Any other comments from the public? Mrs. Brooks and then Mr. Cooper.
Fairbrooks, Morrison Road. Just one other question for the fire chief. When you were chief of Medford Farms, the LoSAP reports were done monthly, and there weren't significant questions about who was eligible or how points were to be assigned. But since you've been chief of Tabernacle Fire Company, there are questions, and LoSAP reports have been significantly delayed. When was the last time you submitted a LoSAP report to Mr. Kramer?
I don't recall the date. I couldn't tell you.
You don't know which month it was? For what month? Okay. And in the last few meetings, Mr. Kramer said that there was a problem with binding resolution 2007, which has to do with the assignment of points. What has the fire company and yourself in particular done to address this problem, since it seems that LoSAP was done pretty regularly before, when you were under Medford Farms, when Medford Farms was still in business, and now suddenly there's the resolution doesn't seem to be available. How have you addressed that issue?
We're trying to find a signed copy of the resolution. The only thing we can find is we found where the district made the resolution, worked on it, then finally approved it, but there's no signed stamped copy to go by. So
We're still trying to search. We've asked other commissioners to look in their personnel files if they have them.
Since those resolutions are approved by DCA, why not just go directly to DCA and get the file and over? I mean, I joked about it the last couple of meetings, but really, within 7 days, you would have a copy of that resolution. Why does it take 6 months to get a resolution that DCA has likely to have? I would think it does, since it regulated the district. So, have you gotten it yet? Have you gotten the resolution yet? What?
I've contacted them 4 times.
Well, I think you could direct your clerk to file an Oprah request, and I am sure that you would get that back within 7 days, no question.
Excuse me, Mr. Brooks, is this the resolution for the commission that DCA has oversight, or DCA has?
This has to do with the 2007 change in
Guidelines,
in the two
yeah.
guidelines in 2003.
It sets the
It sets the-
scale point system, which just can't seem to locate a
But
certified.
with all due respect, if I were a commissioner, I wouldn't answer either. I mean, to be perfectly honest, if I were a fire commissioner that had been tossed out by the township, I'm not sure I would be answering.
Well, I got what commissioners have been willing to talk to me about. Have given me what they had. It is not the 2007-10 resolution.
Okay.
And in their book that has all the resolutions, that one was not in there.
Okay. But it exists and it's...
It exists in their minutes that they that it was part of the minutes. It was not, the resolution itself was not part of the minutes. They reference it in the minutes.
Does DCA even have one?
DCA, I have gone through their website, called them, and also emailed them. I've started Peter on each email. So those guys that have been trying to get them, I've gotten no answer yet.
In all honesty, you didn't file an open request and get it within 7 days. Okay, I'm going to move on. This is regarding the squad. Title 8 is actually very clear about what constitutes a volunteer squad and what doesn't, and billing services is the dividing line, and there's an Attorney General decision about that, letter about that I think it heralds from 85 or 89. And so when Chief Jackson says that he considers himself a volunteer squad, I think that under Title 8, there is a very clear distinction, and that the paperwork that is submitted, which I got within 7 days from Department of Health, makes it very clear that they are licensed by the New Jersey DOH, and that there are billing services, and they fit within that. They fit under. They're subject to regulation by the New Jersey DOH, and if that, that being the case, okay. I would behoove the committee to revisit the ordinance that you adopted in 2011, because that ordinance actually recognizes a volunteer company. So if it isn't a volunteer company, then that ordinance needs to be revised, since they are under that ordinance, the sole providers of rescue service. So I don't know if that ordinance has any validity. I'd like to also ask the chief why you haven't submitted an EMS-38 to the New Jersey Department of Health since 2012. That is the staff roster. And if you're required to submit a roster to the state, why have you not provided the township with a roster, a current roster, especially if you went through licensing? And the other question I have, which I will gladly, if you want to hold me to the 3 minutes, I'll gladly ask or send in, but it has to do with the December 29 bill list, where there was a JIF claim for $2,800, who was driving the Ford ambulance. Was the person a certified EMT? Who were the other EMTs in the ambulance? And did you notify New Jersey DOH under Title VIII about the incident? And also, what is the name of your medical director, the person that you use? That's my list of questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. Chief Jackson or Terry, any comments on that at all?
I don't comment on the volunteer thing because, like I said, I don't have it in front of me. If I reviewed, I would have given it an updated last, but I don't know.
I can't hear anything. I can't.
Well, if you could. I'm not going to answer a volunteer question. Again, I already made a statement reference to that. I would have given them a roster when I renewed. I'm not going to release who was driving the ambulance. And I would have submitted whatever paperwork was necessary.
Anything else?
Or medical direction through virtual.
What is the person's name?
Humble. Dr. Humble.
Okay. Anything else, George? Terry? Okay. Mr. Cooper?
John Cooper, 21 Woodside Drive. I'm basically directing comments to the committee. When you guys went before the local finance board, there was three of you that went there. Chief, Mr. Kramer, Ms. Kramer. Specifically asked if it could run and handle everyday affairs of the fire company. The answer was absolutely we can, absolutely we can, absolutely we can. We've got a fire department that's nowhere near as united and cohesive as it was. It falls on you guys. It's your job to fix it. You caused the problem. As far as, I've read your emergency committee report, I've read the squad's response from years of experience years ago. The first aid squad, president of the squad, probably with these guys right there. First aid squads, fire companies are like oil and vinegar. They don't belong together, they don't mix. They work together, do the job together, and they try to put them together. It ain't gonna, never has, never will. So just a quick note. I think if you're gonna make rules that apply to the squad, you have to make the same rules apply to fire. Both organizations are providing rosters, Rachel County for the monies that they get from the township, and building usage agreements and stuff. Should be the same for both. Treat them both the same. We won't have a problem. Just give some comments, what's going on. If I have these guys fighting, that's going to happen. And, this guy wants to drive a pretty red truck, he wants to drive a pretty red truck. It's the difference. To say that, because the squad is well managed, well, they seem to do a very, very good job of what they do as far as their finances, their service to the community. Fire companies got issues. They're fine, they're not administrators. You guys are going to take that administration job over, if ever in the district. You're doing a lousy job of it. And Ryan come up. Colonel Lowe is probably one of the best employees this township has. He certainly deserves a raise. He's recovered money from FEMA for us. He does a stellar job of what he does. Very little recognition. And I think that we ought to give him a little bit more recognition than he gets because he does an excellent job. You've never heard anybody in this township say a negative thing about Colonel Lowe, other than 4 o'clock phone calls in the morning.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we will, yeah, Colonel.
William Lowe, 24 Hidden Acres Drive, Tabernacle. I think the question to ask is, are the residents of Tabernacle being protected by these two companies or by emergency services in general? The fire engines get out with the proper crew? Do the ambulances get out, or the rescue truck get out with the proper crew? Are the proper people trained to do the job that's supposed to be done? Are the residents of Tabernacle safer because of these two organizations? If the answer to that is yes, all the rest of it is minutia, which means that the squad's got to figure out how to do reports, the fire company's got to have to do reports. But the first question to ask yourselves as a township committee is the township residents safe? And instead of trying to beat these guys to death and trying to figure out all the little minutia things where they could be found culpable, if you want, ask the initial question. We can drill down into every single issue that's out there. Is the tire pressure proper on the ambulances? Is the right amount of fuel being used in the truck? Do they put the right bandages on? Do the toes has been tested? You can drill down and you will find a problem, and especially if you keep looking. The first question is the safety of the residents of Tabernacle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Wilson. Just for the record, Mr. Cooper thinks you need a raise.
He's right.
I did write that down. I did write that down. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll close the public.
Who's doing it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Kramer.
I'm a little floated to you.
You're only in the third row.
I just want to speak because I know you're going to have, I'm sorry, Steve Kramer, 1000 Old Indian Mills Road. Member of the squad and the fire company. I just want to speak because I know you're going to talk about it at length, because I know the committee now is going to discuss your report and also the comments out there. I know that the roster thing has been beaten almost to death. I know there's been discussions about you as a committee, as vetted township committeemen and women, having access to it. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm going to speak to Captain Kennard, my fire captain here, who said something at a company meeting. I didn't warn him I was going to throw this out there, that there's a worry on both sides of the aisle, that if that roster is out there and is accessible to any person in the audience, not vetted people, anybody who can open requests, that there's a concern that every time that siren goes off, every time they know the pager's going off, it's not that expensive to buy a scanner and hear what we're doing, that they know that my wife is alone in the house, that his wife is alone in the house, that our families are unattended. We saw in Orlando this week that domestic terrorism is real. I'm concerned that if there's no reason they need to know that I'm an EMT other than my chief says I am, and you feel confident looking at that roster that I am, that everyone needs to know exactly who I am, where I am at all times in this town. It worries me. I may be a bad example. My wife's a better shot than I am. But I think there are a lot of us who feel the same way. And I know that's true because I sat in a fire company meeting where there is litigation going on with the people who are bringing this roster up. They have sued the rescue squad. They've lost. They're now going after the fire company for the same thing. We had to put our hand up at the company meeting and say, did we feel comfortable with that information being given out, or would we consider leaving the fire company if that information was made public? I would say a majority, the chief can correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of the people in the room raised their hand. It concerns a lot of us. This isn't, you talk about, I mean, Mr. Cooper made some good points about sometimes rescue and fire are not compatible. In this way, I think that we are on the same page. That you really need to consider that we are your constituents too. We're all residents. We're all volunteers. And that you protect us with the same gusto that you protect the rights of the people who don't choose to volunteer for our squad and don't choose to run for the positions you run for and be elected into them, to give you the rights to have more access to information than the general public may have, for our own safety and for the safety of this community.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Any other comments from the public at this time? Going once? Going twice? We'll close the public. Thank you very much for coming, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I am going to ask Chief Jackson and Mrs. Zane, I am going to ask you to hang around for executive session since we are discussing the contract.
Yes, sir.
These Oscars, their shirts.
This time we're going to go in. This time we're going to executive session. Coach, can I just finish up what I got to do so someone can have it on the tape and then you can leave. Or come back. Whereas the governing body wishes to discuss contract negotiations with Tabernacle Residency Squad Incorporated and potential litigation involving Colonel Long Street and premises located at 9 World Drive. These matters will be discussed in closed session from which the public shall be excluded. We will be coming back in the regular session at the conclusion of the executive session. Need a motion to go to executive session, please. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.